The following is a presentation of Project Independence and WCWP. Project Independence is the Aging in Place initiative of the town of North Hempstead.
Welcome to Project Independence and You.
Good morning and welcome to Community Talk Radio. This is Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio. I'm your host and producer, Kristina Liu, and I have two of my co-hosts today. I have Otto Loos, volunteer PI extraordinaire, and Paula Ewell, who is the Deputy Commissioner at the Department of Services for the Aging. I am the Director of Senior Citizen Affairs over there, and Paula and I do all the social worky things together. And this morning, we are excited to have Great Neck resident Carol Leitner, and we're going to talk all about how to optimize your physical and emotional health, especially during the winter months, which if anyone is listening to us live, it is feeling like winter outside. So this is certainly an important topic. Welcome, Carol.
Thank you so much.
I'm glad to have you here. So let's dive in. I know Otto has a whole list. I see him looking over all of his questions. You know, you hear so much in the winter about, seasonal depression, and it's definitely a harder time. People aren't going outside as much, as not on vitamin D. So what are the things that we can do? Tell us all about it. I know you got some good stuff.
I do. I have my notes here.
Yes.
So the first thing I wrote down is, and thank you so much for having me, this expression, don't look for grapes in the hardware store. When we're talking about creating healthy relationships, don't look for traits in somebody who might not have them. Look elsewhere for that. So I wrote down, it's kind of funny, but some people will be your main course. Like I think of it as, people who really are able to meet my needs are my main course. But if not, in some ways, then I relegate them to side dishes. Maybe they're my pickles, maybe they're my olives, maybe they're my coleslaw. So just like know who to go to for what, and have appropriate expectations of family and friends. Peace begins when expectations end, especially around the holiday season. So I have an example, and it's kind of funny, and I'll also say that my friend Wendy, who's a brilliant therapist, I have a lot of therapist friends, she talks about, if they really meet your needs, they're in the orchestra. If not, they're in the balcony, and sometimes, standing room only.
I like that.
Sometimes they're not even in the theater, she will say. So I think that's critical.
It's having the right
I thought
boundaries
about
too.
we call it a golden nugget, all right? Don't look for grapes in a hardware store and the main course versus side dishes. And I thought about it, and like I have friends I play golf with, they're a main dish for that. But I also have family, which is the real main dish. And there's like our group right here, we're a main dish in this part of our world, but the reality is we know about each other's families, but we're not really engaged with each other's families. And I think, it's that's life. It's like I took sociology in school, and this is like basic sociology. And, it's the other one that we talk about a lot on here that ties in exactly what you're talking about is the train ride of life. There are people who get on the train when you're born, and then you get to the next stop, and maybe you get to the point you have a kindergarten teacher or some classmate in kindergarten who's a friend of yours, but then the train goes forward and they get off the train.
Right.
And maybe some of them stay on the train for a while. But that all, what you're
That's a
talking
great
about made me
analogy.
think about all of that.
And not to
It's
expect.
all the different interactions and connections you have with people during your life.
No, it is, and I, obviously I'm a social worker and can be very sensitive and emotional and empath and all these things. So you can get hurt very easy, But I remember as a little girl, I was very little, and I was at work with my mom. There was an older woman that had worked with her, and I was always upset over some kind of friendship, drama or something at the time. And she had said to me, she said, Kristina, you just got to put everyone in their own little boxes. And I remember that stuck, and I must have been like 11 or something. And to this day, I think about that in relationships. Like, everyone has their box, and this way, as you said, the expectations. And I think that that's so important because we all know that your internal struggles and stuff, affect your physical health, so the emotional health can lead to so many of these things.
Totally connected. Great points here. And I just want to bring an example in my own life, and I'm kind of proud of myself for, because it's not always easy.
Yeah, right.
I have one woman, of course I will not name her, and she never, ever, ever responds to anyone's phone calls, ever. I don't understand that, but I know that even if it's, if I ask her to please call back, she won't. But we have a beautiful pool club in my complex, and whenever, I chat with her over the summer at the pool club, and I would love to write a book. She will be so helpful in that area. She will be so helpful in other areas. So I have to just accept that she doesn't.
And it's hard, you're right. It's not an easy thing.
I can say, oh my God, I really need.
Well, she created her own boundary.
Yeah.
Like she likes when you're in person, and she loves that interaction and looking at your eyes and your face and talking. But the phone, like I hate being, part of my job is being on the phone. I do not like being on the, if I'm off duty, I don't, people know.
Yeah.
Well,
we set up times to call.
I would say we all have friends that if you didn't reach out and contact them, you would never hear from them. And it's not that they want to hear from you, but for whatever reason, they don't make the contact.
Yeah, I don't understand it, but I'm so proud that I've just accepted
it.
Yeah,
I think that's
we have a beautiful
but it's a
friendship.
common.
Yeah,
scenario.
everyone can certainly relate to it.
I think more. Let's use the terminology. More people reach out, or less people reach out than
Right.
I'm going to agree.
don't.
I'm going to agree with that statement, Otto.
So the next thing I wanted to share is we have three minds. We have the subconscious mind, and I think of that mind as all of our past experiences, traumas, etc. It all lies in the subconscious mind. And it's kind of amazing that we spend almost 100% of our time in the subconscious mind. Okay. Then there's the conscious mind.
Are we subconscious right now? I'm just
probably,
kidding.
Probably. Then we move into the conscious mind, and that's like where we're in the present moment. As a yoga teacher, I will say we spend very little time in the present moment, and that's the most satisfying place to be. That's the place where we're at most peace. So the idea is to in order to create healthy relationship, we want to clear the stuff from the subconscious mind. How do we do that? We do that with therapy, with great social workers, great counselors. I find that I've spent years studying somatic therapy. I find that we also need to, the issues are in the tissues, so we really need to move. That's why I took up yoga when I've been doing it since I was 22, to move the life force in the body. That's the way we heal. I also do chiropractic on a regular basis. I do acupuncture. I get acupuncture. I get chiropractic. Hypnosis is a great way to clear the subconscious mind so that we can enter into relationships in a healthier, more present way.
Being with nature, being out in nature.
It's my favorite.
Is the biggest.
Me too.
When you're sleeping, are you in your subconscious mind?
Otto, I told you not to ask anything I don't.
Well, I'm asking really because I find a lot of times you get to this point where you have a problem sleeping, and you got this brainstorm in your mind, and if you don't get it out of your brain, you can't sleep. So you have this great idea, and what I do is I make a point. Now, I used to write it down. Now I send myself an email at 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever it might be. And I believe that's probably your subconscious mind. I'm not really consciously saying, I'm going to think about something is working there that,
Yeah, we'll have to research that. So again, both counseling and also moving the life force in the body is great to clear the subconscious so that you can enter into healthier relationships. And then the third part of that is the superconscious mind. That's connecting to something greater. However you interpret that, whether it's God, whether it's Buddha, some kind of a higher power. So those are all
super conscious.
Yes, that's the super conscious mind.
I'm sorry, but in the world of sports, there's a phrase zoning in. and I know
I'm
myself.
Get to that.
Yeah. There you go. He's right.
I'm going to get to that.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yes,
Well, I was
yes.
going to use it as like I play
Yes.
golf, and once in a while you get where you're really relaxed and you're right there.
That's one of my topics.
And you
Oh,
play
very
pretty
good. See?
I know.
Right on the money.
Well, we got a lot of
Yeah.
topics. So.
Yeah. So, move closer. Okay. So the next one, everyone, is so important for creating healthy relationship. And have we heard of Dr. Harville Hendricks?
Yes.
Yeah. Oprah considers him the best psychotherapist she's ever come across. So he and his wife.
Helen Hunt?
Yes.
Is that his wife?
Thank you
Yes.
for knowing that,
Yes.
Dr. Helen
Helen
Hunt. Wrote a number of books. And what I want to share with you today is what they call the Imago Dialogue. Okay? The first part of that is mirroring. Why this is so critically important is that what it is that you repeat exactly to your wife, to husband, partner, friend, exactly what they are saying. That in itself is so healing because people are just not listening. But to have somebody listen to you so intently is so soothing and healing. So you repeat what your partner says to you. Say it is a complaint. You're not doing enough of whatever. You ask your partner, is there more to that? So when you're complaining, whoever asks you, is there more to that, right?
I'm going
Dan?
to try that
'Cause
one on
you're-
my husband later, I think.
Yeah, just listen intently, repeat what he says,
Yeah.
and say, is there more to that?
Well,
that's
I'm
the-
sorry again,
yeah,
but
sure.
listening, I was in sales all my life, and I used to tell people, you have to listen and don't be blowing your mouth off so much. Listen to what they're trying to tell you.
Right.
I've seen salespeople, somebody's in the middle of saying something important, and they just shoot right in past them because
Right,
they
and
didn't
it's
hear
the
anything they
relationship
said.
that they're building that creates the sale.
Right.
So it's more important.
It's
to
not easy to
form the
listen.
connection.
Because
No.
we're all anxious
Yeah.
to get out of our head
Right.
what we want to talk
Right.
about.
Right. So
And-
first is mirroring, and then the next one in the Imago dialogue is validation. And this is so critical because Dr. Harville Hendricks worked in a mental institution. And there's this story that he had, just briefly, that this one patient there wanted to be called Jesus. He just wanted to be called Jesus. And Harville called him Jesus over a period of time. And then he stopped needing to be called Jesus because he felt validated. So the second thing in creating healthy relationship is to validate the other person. Even if you disagree with what they're saying, you can hold space for their reality. Because when we're arguing, with our partners or friends or whatever, our fear is that they think that we're crazy.
Yeah.
Well, perception is reality. If I think this is not really a microphone, it's a Volkswagen car. That's what I think. And that's my reality. Whether you think that's not healthy
Exactly.
Right.
or not,
Exactly.
the point is that's
And
how
just
my
to say,
mind sees
that's
that.
okay that you have that reality.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a
that-
complicated thing to accept.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially now with what's going on in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all,
Much
I
more
think,
challenging.
You think it's complicated?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do.
Yes, so do we
And I
all,
think
I
of the
think.
4 agreements. Don Miguel Ruiz wrote that book, The 4 Agreements. Don't take anything personally. And I think when I think of that agreement, I think of that we all have like different globes spinning in our heads because of our past experiences. So my world is completely different from yours, and yours, and yours, and yours.
Yes.
So, and then the third part to this Imago dialogue is empathy. Just holding space for somebody who's suffering, whatever. And I'm going to admit I watched The Bachelor and The Bachelorette.
Good, so do I. We can talk about that after, Chuck.
Yes, we will definitely talk. And at the end, I get, there are, long story short, there are 25 people vying to become the wife or husband of the main person, the bachelor or the bachelorette, and they now have it for the golden bachelorette, so it's great for 60s
That's
and
another
over.
story.
It's great.
I've
But at
watched
the
one or two.
end, this is the point, at the end, the one who loses, who falls in love after 6 weeks with the bachelor or the bachelorette, has a little meeting with the person that he fell in love with. And I'm always of the opinion, just listen to this person. She thought she would become your wife, and she's going home. Instead, they're blah, 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 oh, you'll probably find somebody wonderful. Just have empathy for this person whose life has been honestly shattered.
Yeah,
They thought they were getting married and they're going home in the limo. So empathy, learn to sit with somebody who's suffering and just hold space for them.
Do people who get married through that show get divorced too?
Sometimes, yes, sometimes
the golden got
Yeah.
right away.
Yes.
Yeah.
They got
Yes,
married
it really
and then
depends.
divorced 6 months later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's probably more to that
So
story.
So the glitter wore off.
Maybe.
Yeah, so that was the
No, and I
imago
think that
image,
all these
yeah.
topics, they're so important, certainly, throughout the year, but especially as we all come into holidays and you're around family and friends that you might not see all the time, and it brings up, as you said, all these different emotions and things you don't even realize that, like, you're dealing with, that come out when someone can trigger. I mean, all these different things. So I think this is such a perfect topic, Carol, to have, during this time of year that everyone could, hold on to, as Otto said, our little golden nuggets when you go into your, your holiday with your family.
Yeah, I was thinking about like the listening part of it and whatnot. One of the biggest things I think during the holidays that sometimes becomes an issue, if you have 10 people together, there are 5 conversations, maybe 6, maybe 7.
You've been to my house.
Yeah, and I never can get that. I mean, like I'm trying to listen to you, and then he starts talking to me, and I have no idea anymore what either one of you are
Right.
talking about.
And which one
And
you
eventually I
listen to,
zone out.
right.
I don't care anymore. But I think that's a common society issue,
It is.
if you will.
No, and it's also just even worse now because I think we're in a society where things are so fast paced. We're all connected all the time, so everything is just fast. I mean, I look at and as you're saying, like, it's not even coming from a bad place necessarily, but I think about, I'll have a party at my house and we haven't seen each other in a while and everyone is just yapping, like 10,000 times. But these are things to keep mindful of, certainly. But we have to take a break. We're going to talk with Carol Leitner after the break about how to optimize your emotional and physical health, especially during the winter months. You're listening to Project Independence in You on LIU Public Radio.
So I get this call from my grandma, and she's like,
"What's a podcast and how much does it cost?"
So I tell her, podcasts are like radio shows, but you can download them on any device and listen to them anywhere at any time, and they're free. And then she says,
"I see, but where can you find good ones?"
and I'm like, go to wcwp.org/podcast and check out the lineup of original shows, or download any podcast app on your phone or tablet and search for LIU Studios. And she's all like,
"Oh, that sounds easy."
and then she asked me what an app is.
LIU Studios podcasts, available on any podcast app. Those little button things on your phone screen. Just ask your grandkids.
Welcome back to Project Independence in You on LIU Public Radio. I'm your host, Kristina Liu, along with my co-host, Paula Yule and Otto Loos. We're going to continue talking with Carol Leitner about how to optimize your emotional and physical health, especially during these winter months. So before the break, I know we were talking a lot about kind of just little tools, and Otto, of course, had some great questions during the break, just about your inner self and how that kind of leads to so many of these, different relationships.
Yeah, so we have to develop a healthy relationship with self in order to develop a healthy relationship with others. Not only to develop a healthy relationship with others, but to just live a satisfying life. So years ago, I personally took up yoga stretching. I lived on the Upper West Side for 13 years, and I would go to the same yoga stretch class for 16 years. And I was just showing everyone my stretch strap here. Just simply lying on your back, getting a this is called a TheraBand. And just bringing one leg in towards your face, just a number of different stretches and breathing techniques to take you out of that monkey mind into the stillness of the body. So for me, that's the way I create a deep internal peace and deep connection to self. And I've never stopped.
What made you start doing it? You just were like, let me take a yoga class? How'd you get into it?
I was walking on the Upper West Side, and I ran into a college friend of mine, and she recommended this place. It was right near where Filene's used to be.
Oh, yes, of course.
Old Filene's.
On West 79th. And she recommended this place called the Exercise Exchange. I'm going to be honest in saying I was bored the first class.
Yeah.
I was bored. It was like an hour and a half of stretching. Long story shorter, there's nothing more satisfying.
Wow.
Almost nothing more satisfying in life.
See, you just said some magic words to me, all right? An hour and a half. A lot of people do not have that level of motivation. So what can people do that doesn't require that intense a level of motivation, if you will? Like, most people are willing to give up no time for that. All right. So, and then there are other people like yourself and people we know who are willing to do hours at the gym or whatever. I'm not one of them. I have to force myself to do what I do, but I do stuff.
Yeah, but he loves to walk. You're a big walker.
Yeah, walking, I enjoy walking.
Right.
I'm not particularly a
And you're
big fan of
outside, too.
standing there and stretching bands,
Yeah.
and I feel like I've got other things I'd rather do.
So, Otto, another great question. And in my yoga classes, I ask my students, what do you do? Because there's a concept I wanted to share with you called samadhi this is a great book, Yoga and the Quest for True Self, by Dr. Stephen Cope, who's scholar in residence where I trained at Kripalu Yoga Center in Massachusetts. Yeah, I went up there so many times to study health. They're actually training Harvard Medical School on health. Yeah, this is a premier health center. So anyway, what do they do? I remember one woman, Ellen, years ago said to me, and I'm not suggesting, that seniors can do this, but when I breastfeed my son at the ocean, I lose myself. When I read, I lose myself. When you're doing a walking meditation, I lose myself. When I act, I lose myself. So choose that thing that you do where...
Right, because you're more likely to do it because you enjoy it.
Right. Whatever it is, we all have something that we do where we lose ourselves.
Yeah.
See, I try meditating, but I end up sleeping.
That's okay. That might not be the thing.
He lost himself right in the pillow, yeah.
So that's not your thing.
Yeah.
Also, you're doing those things.
I mean,
I think
to me,
also
it
to
is a
find
form of
yourself.
relaxation.
Right.
I think it's not
Paula,
just
that's
the
it.
losing
Yeah.
yourself.
Oh
You're
my
doing these
God.
things to find yourself.
Right. That's it. When you lose
that's
yourself,
what
you
I
find
find
yourself.
when I'm walking. You say, oh.
Yeah.
Especially if you walk
And
with a friend, it's different.
Yeah.
Do not
But
walk
alone,
with a
nothing.
thing in your
I
ears.
want to hear wind. I want to
Nature.
hear
Yeah.
leaves. I want to
Right.
hear birds.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But then you're finding something when you're doing
finding
these
yourself.
activities.
That's
so,
brilliant.
So I'm thinking like losing. I understand that, but I want to find when I'm putting that time in. So that's what I'm hearing
Because
when you're
get
saying
the
this.
clarity.
Yes.
When you're in the body, not in the mind, you get the clarity to get to
and
know
still
yourself.
takes you out of that part of your mind that you need a break from. Probably.
Yes.
This should start when kids are in the early years
Yeah,
in school.
absolutely.
There maybe should be a child's version of these
Right.
books.
Yes.
So kids kind of start. I remember when I was like a teenager, for whatever reason, I got into two books, Dale Carnegie, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, and The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale.
Right.
And what motivated me to do that, I have no idea. But I felt like I needed something, I guess, But those books stuck with me.
Yeah.
And, they're How to Stop Worrying and Start Living is still a classic as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
Call my mom and just tell her that right now. Okay.
But I think if they focused a little bit on stuff like that in school,
Absolutely.
have a class on self.
Yeah, maybe I could teach it.
There you go. Carol just got a new idea. There you go.
Yeah. So the next
Or
topic
you could
I
write a
want to-
child's book like one of these right here.
Yeah, start young. inhabit the body. The next thing that's important in creating healthy relationship is to know others' love languages. So what is important to people? Is it words of affirmation? And that's based on the book, The 5 Love Languages by Dr. Gary Chapman. Is it words of affirmation? I love you. Is it quality time for you? Is it receiving gifts? Is it acts of service? I love helpful people. You know, that's important to me. I love appreciation. Is it physical touch? So understand your partner or your friend's love language. Thoughts, Otto, or anyone?
Well, I mean, there's verbal, physical, eyeball, whatever you want to call it. Eyeball contact.
Eye contact.
And, you know, go back earlier to what you talked about, the main course versus side dishes. If you can come upon a common thing that both of you might be interested in, you can have a good conversation with somebody based on that alone. Like, you happen to like me, sports, and you talk to somebody about sports. But I do like talking about things like this. You know, it's your mind is what you're walking around with every day.
Right.
And if you can keep that straight, we wouldn't have a lot of the problems we have out here.
Yeah. And even the art of conversation, you know, we're talking, and I would want to do a short reading from here. But even conversation takes us out of the mind into the body sometimes when you're in a great conversation with somebody.
Yeah,
Personally, that's why I love.
That's why we love the show. That's exactly.
Yeah,
That's
it takes
exactly.
Because
you out of
we have a
yourself.
conversation.
Yeah.
And it's hard
You
to
guys
have
are lucky.
conversations.
Yeah.
No, and we say because you feel you walk, you know, out of this every Friday and you feel good, you know, about it, and you just it's like a lovely feeling, and it's definitely because you know you got out of your own self, which is is nice.
Right. So I just wanted to do a short reading, a couple of paragraphs, and it's on samadhi, which is again consciousness without the self. What we do to lose ourselves, bliss, time out of time. Okay. And it's from Yoga and the Quest for True Self by Dr. Stephen Cope. And he's just painting a house, and he totally loses himself. So one beautiful June afternoon, as I stood on my ladder, I was overcome with a feeling of what I can only describe as profound and utter well-being. For no apparent reason, I dropped through some unexpected crack in my ordinary mode of consciousness into a state of time out of time. The most mundane moments were infused with the deepest sense of satisfaction. The enchanting perfume of the iris at my feet, the steady hum of farm machinery in the distant field, the cat curled up in the sun, watching, even the rich oil smell of the paint. It all seemed so completely right. I was utterly okay, more than okay. My senses were alive, and every sight, smell, touch reverberated with the sublime. I melted into what was. My painting seemed effortless. There was no bottom to my feeling of well-being, no hard edges anywhere. At one point, out of the blue, I sobbed, as if with a lifetime of accumulated burdens, and throughout it all, I just painted.
Lovely. Yeah.
It is. And I think, we as you read that, I think we all in our heads can think of a moment or an activity or something. I love to craft and stuff. And I know that is totally something that,
Exactly.
that I think, and I think it all goes back to you have to find that thing for you because it's different for everyone. My thing isn't going to be your thing. And I think that's the key because once you find that activity, these things kind of fall into place. I think when you hear these topics, you're like, oh, I don't know, how am I going to do that? It sounds overwhelming to people, but when you put it like you in these terms of just finding your joy, which is really important.
I was going to say something you enjoy, finding your joy.
So I'm just wondering what crafts brings you
to
samadhi.
I got a list.
No, tell us.
No, I mean, I certainly, I definitely crafting. I mean, because I love, I love to give gifts. I think everyone here, can certainly attest to that. And it brings me joy, the act of putting it together. And I think that's from childhood too. My mother and I, were best friends. And since I was a little girl, that was such a thing. My birthday parties and planning and doing these little favors and, every little detail brings me such joy. Other people may be like, this looks like a little too much. But it's just really, it is something that you just feel happy and validated, like, for the entire process, which is just so lovely.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Anybody else? What?
I love to read.
Yes.
I'm a very prolific reader, so I always have 3 books or so going at the same time. And I love bookstores and I love libraries.
Mm-hmm.
So if I want to lose myself,
Yeah.
I find any one of those places. When we go on vacation, I find where's the local library and I poke around. I don't like to have books necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
I like to have them and then give them away or share them. But and if I can't read, I'm anxious.
Yeah.
Like I have
Right,
to
you can
have.
feel the difference.
I have to have a book with me. But it's reading. And I've said to my husband, what did my parents do that, I wish I have one of my children loves to read, and my husband is a reader also, so we can sit very quietly for a very long time. Till we're hungry or thirsty, just reading.
And you're not uncomfortable about that.
No.
Which is a good thing, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like if one person likes to read and the other one is like walking
Right.
around.
Yeah, no. We can both.
All itchy.
Yeah. And it's easy to spend time then, because you could be really anywhere.
Yeah, that's a beautiful
long as-
thing.
oh,
to just
yeah.
be in silence with somebody else.
It's wonderful.
In samadhi with somebody else.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's my thing.
Yeah.
I
Anybody
probably
else?
like Kristina. I think I have a list.
Yeah.
Activity, like I've always been into sports. And while I'm able, I still golf, I bowl. When I do those things, I'm really not thinking about anything else. When I walk, I'm really very
walking, yeah.
nosy. I could tell you every kind of...
Otto is me. We're into the two of us
years
all
ago
the
as a
time.
kid, I delivered orders in a delicatessen for about 4 years.
Right.
And I was always... I knew what every store was closing or opening, or I just into what I see around me. I like to observe.
Yeah, me too.
Yes.
Things and stuff.
Yeah.
And, some of it may be completely meaningless.
Right.
But I enjoy watching, like the progress at Tully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did a whole parking lot thing there, and I walk over there and I watch this thing from beginning to end, basically.
It's done now, Otto?
Oh, it's
Yeah.
you-
I want to take a ride and take
yeah,
a
you
look
would
at
not
it.
imagine what that parking lot looks like
Wow,
now.
great.
It really, but that kind of stuff. Another one, frankly, just 2 nights ago, we went to the movies to see a guy, Andre Roux, if you've ever heard of him.
No.
Nobody in your age brackets has ever heard of him. He's a great entertainer. He does music of all levels, but he does it with fun. And he's very, very well known throughout the world, really. If you
How
ever
do you spell
look,
his last name?
Andre, Roux, R-I-E-U.
Okay.
And you look him up on YouTube and you can see concerts from
Great.
all over the place. And
Sounds
when we
good.
go see him in like this was actually in the movie theater. He did a Christmas show.
Oh, that's so nice.
Oh,
And
nice.
and it was fantastic on the big screen.
Oh, nice.
And it was from Netherlands, where he's based out of. So that kind of,
Yeah.
Yeah. It transported you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like,
experience.
being with my kids and my grandchildren and trying to talk to them without being too nosy. Once in a blue moon they'll ask me a question about me, but most of the time it's the other way around. How you doing? Do you think you want to? And I like to do that, and it makes me not think about too many other things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we are going to approach another break. We could talk clearly about this all day long,
Yes,
Carol.
yes.
We are speaking with Carol Leitner about how to optimize your emotional and physical health, especially during the winter months. You're listening to Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio.
Take WCWP with you wherever you go with the WCWP app. Listen live 24/7 to all of our streams, all from one app. Plus, call the studios directly from the app and visit our social media. Download the app through the iOS App Store on Apple devices or the Google Play Store on Android by searching WCWP Radio, or visit WCWP.org for links. The WCWP app, available now on iOS and Android devices.
Welcome back to Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio. I'm Kristina Liu, your host, along with my co-hosts Paula Ewell and Otto Loos. And we're going to jump right back in with Carol Leitner about how to optimize your physical and emotional health, especially during the winter months.
Okay, so Otto just asked me a little bit about my background, so I just wanted to share what brought me to what I do today. I actually have a master's in business. I came from
I saw that, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, very business oriented. 3 out of the 5 of us went to Baruch. So I have a degree in healthcare administration from Baruch and Mount Sinai School of Medicine. And for 10 years or so, I was in healthcare administration, in hospital administration and mid-level management. And then at the 10-year mark, I started to feel that I was much more interested in, I was kind of moving into managed care and not feeling comfortable about denying people, not feeling at all comfortable about being in organizations that denied care, which is an interesting, timely topic. So I stepped off that path. And I went up to Kripalu Yoga Center to just kind of find myself, and wound up moving into the field of holistic health, mind, body, spirit, because it's all connected. What happens emotionally affects us physically. When we're in good physical and emotional shape, we can connect more deeply to something greater. So I created a life, I'm an entrepreneur in the field of holistic health. I'm somewhat of a leader in the community. I have about 7,000 people in my meetups. I don't mention meetup. So I run Holistic Living on Long Island.
So just tell people, our listeners, what is a meetup?
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's just, it's people gathering, great question. People gathering for live events. I do health expos. I try to bring healers together with the people that need their healings. So that's really what I'm about. We have amazing practitioners, doctors, holistic doctors on Long Island. So I try to bring the people that need their services to them. I get great joy out of that.
Like Meetup is an app, right?
Well,
on a computer primarily?
Well,
or the phone?
Both.
Yeah, but I noticed you had 3 groups, I think, with multiple thousands of people.
Right.
Just a digression for a second.
Sure.
People who are listening, who might be interested, having a common interest, can actually go to this Meetup and start a group.
Yes.
So that, talking about doing things with people who you have a common interest with, you can attempt to start a group like you did.
Yeah, meetup.com. So I run Holistic Living on Long Island. I run the Wellness and Entrepreneurs Exchange. And then I just acquired Long Island Entrepreneurs. So again, we do meetings on Zoom about health. And we do live events. I do live events.
And Carol, if anybody wanted to get in touch with you, what's like the best contact number, or how would they go about this?
Thank you. So it's my name, Carol Leitner, CarolLeitner, the number 1 at gmail.com. And I would be happy to answer any questions about health that you have.
Well, you're a yoga instructor also.
Right. I teach. Thank you, Otto. I teach, my classes are slow, they're deep, they're all about just going inside and learning to hold space for yourself, to inhabit your body. I do therapeutic yoga, which is great for the heart. We do a lot of legs up the wall, reversing that blood flow, sending blood into the joints and the fascia and the hips and the heart, sending blood everywhere, which
We
is
probably
so
don't have
important.
too many of our listeners who can bring their
Oh, that's
legs up.
okay. I do chair yoga.
There you go.
There you
So
go.
you
much,
can do it for
you know,
free.
because I'm all
Yeah.
about the spine controls everything in our life. The nerves feed out to feed every organ, muscle, and bone in our life. So I do a lot of my yoga classes are all about moving the spine in all forward bends, back bends, side stretches, spinal twists. Yeah.
Could I just ask,
Sure.
a lot of people may not really, you hear the word holistic. What do you really mean? What is holistic?
Yeah,
Good question.
it's treating the mind, body, and spirit. It's treating all. It's getting to the root. Well, that's functional medicine. Is getting to the root cause of a disease. You can't just like even with dental. I was listening to a video this morning.
That's a bad one. Go ahead.
Right. Definitely get your dental cleanings and go to the periodontist if they tell you to go. But you know, you have to get to the root cause of disease. You can't just. I don't want to get to whatever.
No, but I think it's important, you know, and we always say on this show, we talk a lot about, you know, mindfulness and the whole body picture of things. And I think it's an interesting time we're in because we're realizing that, of course, you know, there's certain doctors that you need to go and checkups and all these things.
Absolutely.
But, you know, the internal, you know, mind, body, soul really feeds into that, you know. I mean, I constantly am reading the impacts of stress on your body, you know, and you don't even realize.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm stressed, you're stressed, but like you think about the years that takes on people, and I've seen it firsthand with my mom, you know, and how it manifests in these, you know, physical illnesses. So I do think, you know, this is a topic, and you know, as Otto said, you know, some people can hear holistic and be like, whoa, I don't know what that is. But I do think it's really the whole body, you know, and the full body picture. And, you know, each of these kind of pieces of medicine, you know, play an important role together to, you know, keep you your healthiest, you know, optimize your health. Right?
That's a whole other subject.
That's another whole,
frankly.
right.
Yeah.
Levels of stress.
Yeah, it's like the root. It is
right.
the root cause of almost all
Everything, right?
all
right.
disease and doctors' visits is stress.
Yeah.
So you're
Like
right.
installing a smart TV.
Otto's bringing in, he thinks he's in a therapy
That's
session.
short-term stress. But a physical or health problem that's
right.
life-threatening,
Right.
that's a deeper stress.
Yeah.
No, and
As I see
I,
it.
you know, and it's something that, you know, I say to my mother all the time, you know, with, you know, her life has been spent, you know, being an empath and I call her like a sponge because she can meet you and you're whatever you're going through, she's soaking in. So that's just, it's like and it's manifested in stomach issues and I mean like, you know, and all these other things that she has to deal with. So I really do think that, you know, when you think about it that way, you know, learning these kind of ways and to get more in tune with your mind, body, and soul, you know, really is so important.
Yeah, great points, everybody. So I just wanted to share what I do to stay healthy, knock on wood, even through the COVID years.
Yeah.
You know, thank God. One thing that I do highly recommend is Juice Plus. It's 30 fruits, vegetables, and berries, no sugar, set to higher standards than organic. I take this every day. I've been taking it for almost 15 years, and knock on wood, it's been amazing. And there's tremendous clinical gold standard clinical protocols behind it. Something else that is critical is staying fully hydrated. Fully hydrated. That means half your body weight in ounces every single day. Dr. Batman Jalouj, if you just Google Batman, has wrote a series of books about, one is You're Not Sick, You're Thirsty.
Wow.
Many diseases really start from dehydration.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
Seniors, all right?
Yeah.
I'm a
you don't
senior,
feel the thirst.
clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah, drink,
Okay.
even if you don't.
You might not feel
but
thirsty,
I
right?
want to get through a 2-hour show. If
And not
I
have to
drank
go to
this
the
whole
bathroom.
bottle of water, I'd be making a visit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of
Yeah.
seniors face that kind of problem.
Right, but they're not doing 2-hour shows.
Yeah.
So you
Okay.
really have to drink. There's just, I'm just, you know.
No, it is because, you know, you have to weigh things, right? And we talk about
Well, I weighed
dehydration. We have to talk about, and we talk about dehydration all the time on this show because I've seen it firsthand what it can do, you know, to people. And, you know, and once you kind of hit that dehydration point, it's very hard unless you get like an IV, you know, to get it back. And I've seen that for all ages. You know,
Yes,
I mean, and
even
we laugh
children.
on the show. I'm constantly yelling at my family, and especially my mom, to like drink. You know, I'm like, I walk around, I'm like, drink. You know, like the stand, like she needs like someone, because a lot of times they're not going to.
This is a girl who has a two-handed bottle of water.
I'm showing my water.
Yeah.
That's right.
And guys, just try, just because I'm
That's a
totally
two-day supply
transparent,
right there.
try not to drink plastic.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
It creates some
Yes.
kind of a
No, sure,
chemical, especially when you keep it
Yeah.
in your cars.
Yes. Oh,
that can be
yes.
carcinogenic.
Yeah.
So, and also, it's not only the physical body, but if you feel depressed,
Yeah, right.
it could just be a
Dehydration.
dehydration. Yeah. So that's one. Those are two things. Juice Plus, drink half your body weight in ounces. I asked a doctor from this company. I am affiliated with this company, where I promote it. Dr. David Phillips, who is an ER doctor and an Ironman. How many fruits and vegetables we need here on Long Island due to all the toxins? Would anyone want to venture a guess?
Oof, I wouldn't even know.
15?
Per day.
Yeah.
Wow, Paula.
What?
Was it?
Hang on, I'm just taking
Oh.
votes here. Paula says 15. That's
Oh.
half cups. Anyone else?
Oh, half cups.
Cups?
Half cups.
Half cups.
15 half cups of fruit and vegetables per day is my guess.
That's a great.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I've seen numbers that I know I can't match.
I don't think it's unfair.
Yeah.
He's seen it.
Yeah. Cups.
Yep, half cups.
Half cups.
Half
That's a
cups.
serving. Yep. Per day.
5.
You got to gasp.
15, 5.
I'm gonna go,
I mean,
I'll
what
go
are
over
we
20.
Yeah, but what are
20.
we fitting in there? Like,
Yeah.
some things take up more room than others.
Okay, we're
Yeah,
gonna.
there you go.
Yeah. Between 13 and 22.
Cups a
Yeah.
There we
day.
go, Paul. We were
half a-
right in the range.
Wow.
Me and Kristina.
Now, do you
Well,
What?
Yeah.
no,
No.
so I take.
yeah.
So I take this.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I try to eat a lot, especially greens. Greens.
Yeah.
Well,
Eat
I
your
mean,
greens.
if I don't even come close, but we do eat every breakfast. I have some kind of fruit: strawberry, blueberry, prunes,
Good.
banana.
Yeah,
Right.
and watch the sugar with the,
Yeah.
with
Well,
the
banana
fruits.
has sugar, right?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't eat that many bananas.
Yeah.
So this is critical for health, critical for disease prevention, that you're getting, a range of colors as well.
Yeah.
So eat the rainbow.
I know, because that's always takes me. That's when we learned on the radio show we had on. It was a nutrition topic and talking about holidays, and they were saying, rule of thumb is like your plate should just be so colorful. You don't want a plate that's all white.
Right.
No.
And
don't
it's
eat
like,
the white foods.
It's just
High
it's also you
glycemic.
look and we laugh on my holidays because you'll see some of my family members will just have my brother. I'm not shouting him out or anything,
Yeah.
but it's just
Potatoes.
straight bland coloring. And I
great
think
point.
that a good little, because we love a golden nugget, as we said, and a quick little rule of thumb
If
is
you
to
ate
have
that
that.
many cups, half cups, you wouldn't really have the ability to eat anything else as far as.
Well, it's very filling, which is
Yeah.
great. And
Yeah.
it's got to go in and out.
Yeah.
Another thing is in and out, right?
Well, prunes
Like
are
babies, in and out. Yeah.
and you don't need many.
Movement is critical. On kind of a somber note, they're saying that sitting is the new smoking.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So we must move in a way that makes you happy. I move every day. Weight bearing is very important, very important. And then just, healthy protein, not processed meats. The cold cuts kind of
Yeah.
need to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Take all your preventative tests on time.
I'm sorry for laughing, but
Yeah.
just yesterday a conversation came up about, do you remember we used to have bologna sandwiches?
Oh, yeah. On white bread.
Yeah, white bread.
Wonder
With
bread.
potato chips.
Yeah, let me tell you whose favorite meal it is. My
And
dad.
mayonnaise.
My dad to this day, that is his, and I was
Yeah,
like, that is some nostalgia.
But I haven't
thing if
had a
ever did see
bologna
it.
sandwich in a long
Well, you
time.
can go have lunch with my dad because that's what he's probably eating right now.
Yeah.
Well, anyhow, but what do you have as an alternate?
It's hard.
Bologna?
Yeah, it's,
There's got to be
Salad?
some meatless
Yeah.
meat that he would like.
I mean,
Turkey's
most
good.
of the stuff is
Yeah.
even a turkey is either handmade or, machine made.
It's hard.
It's hard to.
Veggie burgers are really good.
Yeah, but what's in a veggie burger? I mean, I think moderation comes into play.
Yes. No, absolutely.
Don't eat 12 veggie burgers. Have one veggie burger.
Right.
Because you really don't know what's in the veggie burger.
Right.
There's vegetables, but there's all the chemicals in there that we don't really know what they mean.
You know what it is, too? And I'm a firm believer, you're saying moderation. And I also believe that, you find like one, you don't have to do it all because it can be overwhelming, right? So, we're not telling people you have to completely change your life and existence. But I think if you make these small little changes and then, that becomes your routine and then you're able to do another one, So I think that, you can only eat an elephant one bite at a time. There you go. It's Otto's. I was waiting to get to that because that's Otto's favorite line. And I really do believe that.
But I think that's true with what Carol's talking about is like, yes, to do exercise, right? Some people thrive on it. They love to go to the gym. Me, I have a different approach. I figure the time it takes me to get to the gym and get back from the gym, I could be doing my exercise on my own accord without going to the gym. So I think, you used the words a little bit at a time. I think is true with everything.
No, I think about that. You talked about this so many years ago now, but you had that friend who was largely homebound and, so would walk around the dining room table, and that was just their. So I think it's like, there's these little, obviously our audience is mostly senior based, so they, they try to find, more limited kind of things. They don't have the same kind of abilities But I do think, these little changes, can make such a huge difference. And these project independence exercise classes that we have that are all free, I mean, it's like standing room only. They fill up so fast, and it's so great to see that so many of our seniors, rush to register for these programs.
I'm just going to kind of, as you're speaking, I'm thinking about, I had one yoga student who was with me for, I've been teaching over 20 years, and she died about 5 years ago, a woman from Port Washington. And she took my class, so don't underestimate seniors. She took my class until maybe 2 weeks before she died. And she never, she just said, I won't be in class next week. And she basically died the week after. So, it's not true. The number.
Yeah, it's
what's
just
going on
inside. You're absolutely right.
Absolutely. It's not the number.
Well, I've heard somebody not long ago say, I was thinking maybe I should smoke or whatever because it doesn't really matter. Right. And then I actually talked to this person, and I said, it does matter because you want quality of life while you're here. What life you do have, you want quality. You don't want to end up the last 3 years laying there in a vegetated state.
So on a personal note, I lost my mother when I was 30 because she smoked. So.
Yes. Well, that's not a good habit, that's for sure. And obviously, I've never smoked, but I know people who have smoked and still smoke that they admit it's a bad addiction and they just can't stop in some cases. And,
So just a couple more things. Getting back to the relationship piece, just wanted to read you a couple of important things in creating safe relationship because people need to feel safe in a relationship. So the first one from the millennial therapist, Sarah, Kuburic, understanding, being able to see something from another person's point of view. Respect, consistency, showing up, following through on what you say you're going to do, being honest, being transparent, being able to communicate, being trustworthy, setting healthy boundaries, not too rigid though, kind of not too, just healthy boundaries, being authentic, being compassionate, and being humble, the absence of ego. And I would add just also the ability to move through disagreements.
Well, that is a perfect way to end the show. I think you really encompassed it all there. We'd like to thank our guest today, Carol Leitner. We would also like to thank everyone who joined us. You're listening to Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio. Thank you again, Carol.